think we are good. Yeah. Okay. Welcome everybody. My name is Andre Robinson, and today I'm being joined by my good friend Nygel Jones once again. We haven't had a appearance since we were doing the consistency podcast, but we're back, and we have some things to discuss in the tech world. Let me close my door real quick. I just realized it was open. Give me 1 second.
Go ahead.
Okay, yep. Sorry, I didn't want my dog popping in here while we was having our conversation. But man, so Nigel, man, how you been, man? How's everything going?
Man, everything has been great for me, man. Things have just been going really well. How about yourself?
Things been up and down, man. So I was in the job hunt for past almost 5 months now. So just landed a new position. I won't say where it on stream, but yeah, got a contract position. So the tech space has been up and down. We hearing a whole bunch of stuff about it in the news and stuff. I know that you're
Mhm.
been in the tech space for a couple of years now. How many years you been in? I mean, probably around the same amount of time, but how long you
Yeah,
been
just
in
about
professional?
like 7 years now,
Some
a little
years,
over
yeah.
7.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, yeah, even with the experience, it was still a little difficult to, find a position. I had to make a pivot a little bit more towards the back end, which is something that you have, a little bit more expertise in than
hmm
myself. But yeah, like let's get into. I know last time we talked about a lot of just your college career and how that kind of influenced your your career in the tech. So let's kind of start off with um, where your tech career is now and kind of some of the things that you've done over the past couple of years to kind of get you to where you're at today.
Sure. So now I am a senior software engineer. Like you mentioned before, I focus primarily on the back end. Previous roles I've had have been back end and DevOps heavy, very focused on those particular parts of the stack. But it's definitely been a journey to get here. For me, for this particular role, to get the senior title, a lot of that happened through job hopping. I know when the market was really, really, really good, a couple of years ago, when jobs were pretty much just like falling in everyone's laps, it was
Mm,
easy to hop, after a year or two. And I think a lot of people, especially when they're earlier on in their career, similar to how I was, they did that more often just to get the title boost. And so for
mm.
this current position, it was similar. Though I had a senior position before that, but this one I think is one I've had to where it's like this. It truly feels more senior versus like okay, the responsibilities that you have compared to oh, you're a senior because you have 4, 5, 6 years on your resume. But yeah, that's pretty much where I'm at now.
Got you. Okay, so quick question. In comparison between, I guess give the people a little bit of a summary of what DevOps is. I think on this channel they kind of understand what a developer does, but if you could just kind of give us a quick synopsis of what like your role as was when you were in DevOps, or and how
Mhm.
that kind of helped you to be in your senior role today.
Sure, definitely. So DevOps itself was the position is an attempt to bridge the gap that existed historically between developers and the operation team. So you had the developers themselves, which would do all the coding of the application, and then the operations side, which would deal with the actual monitoring of the application, the day-to-day operations, making sure like it's up, if anything's going wrong, posting those logs, making sure that people understand like, hey, these are the issues, so that devs can go in and fix it. And so, because those disciplines they may sound related, but there are some differences in between them. DevOps itself as a position was just an attempt to bridge the gap there to help make the developers, the work that the devs are doing, make it easier for the operation teams to be able to handle itself. So, what does that mean? That means making sure that your role itself will be, anything from automating the creation of the infrastructure that your services are running in. So, if you're running cloud services, or your application exists inside the cloud, it's not on-prem, then you need some type of infrastructure for it to run on. So you want to automate the provisioning of that. When I say that, that means making sure that those servers that you're running it on, that they remain consistent whenever they're created. Because if you manually do it, manually go and create it, let's say you forget a particular configuration, automating that means that that configuration will stay the same throughout the code or the application's lifecycle if you have that inside of code. Adding monitoring and logging tools for your application. So whenever things go wrong, like there's a particular error that's thrown or something's happening, you have logs that are shown that make this very visible to teams, and you have email alerts that are sent to developers and operations and particular people inside the organization whenever these particular issues are happening. Managing space on servers, all those types of stuff, just to make sure that the application's infrastructure is smooth and that there aren't any gaps that exist between developers and operations, to kind of just make things easier for everyone. I did that at EA, Electronic Arts.
Mhm.
I worked there for a while, and I did that a lot of DevOps type work at some of my previous roles. My very first one at ThoughtWorks.
Mhm.
We, even though I was a back end developer, we did a lot of DevOps work. We had a lead DevOps engineer on our consulting team, and we were responsible for automating um, the servers inside of AWS that we were using, creating the monitoring and logging tools, hooking that up. It was just a lot of stuff that when I went to other teams, I realized that, oh, we don't actually handle that. It's kind of eye opening just to see the different things um, that a lot of dev teams historically don't handle. In my current role now, we don't touch anything that that deals with infrastructure or monitoring logging. It's literally coding, send it to QA, QA test it. There's operations teams that handles that stuff, and then we have other teams that are responsible for the DevOps tasks. So the devs themselves don't do any of that. But yeah, I really appreciate that, just simply because you I think a lot of times as developers, we like to just code stuff and then throw it to the next person.
Right.
But DevOps, yeah, whenever you're in the mindset of DevOps, it really makes you think, it's just like, okay, when there's a person that has to deal with my code after this, what would be good for them to have? And that's a good
Mhm.
mindset, not just for your operations team, but for QA as well. So the type of unit tests that you write, if you use Jira or whatever ticket management system that you're utilizing, if you write in the particular test cases that you made yourself, right? And like, hey, I tested this how I tested it locally. I mean, they're not going to run the unit. Well, they could run the unit test, but you could say like, hey, these tests are running these particular scenarios. It just makes your code overall cleaner for the next person to touch. So DevOps, I'm appreciative of the work I did there, just because it put me in the mindset of making sure that whatever I would do, whenever the next person touches it, like I think of them and or I have them in mind.
That's amazing, man. Because DevOps is kind of the unsung hero in the tech world. They don't necessarily
Absolutely.
get a lot of shine, but yeah,
No love.
they're a lot of the glue that holds a lot of these companies together. People don't understand how many times developers actually have to push things, and if it's not compliant with what the DevOps set up, then things can go left very quickly. So
Very
appreciate your
quickly.
service in that department, man.
Absolutely.
um, so outside of your well, not outside of your technical, I mean your professional career, let us know some of the things that you're working on outside of your immediate role right now.
Yeah, glad you asked. So recently I started working on a brand new platform. Let me back up a little bit. I talked about this on our last interview.
Mhm.
I have been in game development for a while, more so like in an amateur sense. In college, after I transferred from Georgia State to Kennesaw State, there was a game development program that was there, and so I got into that. I started seeing, firsthand some of the games that a lot of the other students were developing. I saw the labs and the technology that everyone was using. Like there was such a huge emphasis for game development there, that put my hands into it, did some stuff here and there, and then I always had an idea of a particular game that I wanted to build. And the idea was you play a fighting game initially, like you play a fighting game, and the game itself would be mascots or characters of different entities. So whether it could be like McDonald's or like anything that sells things, you know, what I'm saying? Anything that sells a product. So it could be fast food restaurants, it could be clothing brands. They would have like their own avatars or mascots to where you could just fight each other. Then you earn points, and then with the points that you earn discounts from those different entities that those mascots represent. So, like, if you fighting with the McDonald's mascot, you can end up if you win enough matches or you fight enough, you can earn McDonald's points and cash those in for something at McDonald's, like a free French fry or something like
Mm-hmm.
that. Just had an idea. I thought it'd be pretty cool. Um, and so later on, when the pandemic hit, I opened up my own video game studio just because I was like, I have all this extra time. We're all working remotely. Let's see what I could do. I started developing a title that I called Placate, and it was similar to the game that I just mentioned previously, but it's not. We weren't using mascots, and it wasn't a fighting game. We weren't using mascots of different companies. It was just a bunch of different mini games where you could earn points in general and be able to redeem those for prizes. I did that for a bit, and then a lot of the games that we were building, they were cool. We were getting some good feedback. I released the beta last year. Got some good feedback, and I thought about it some more, and I was just thinking that there's another level that I could actually take this to. I thought, okay, why instead of someone just playing a game itself and then they earn points for the game, wouldn't it be better if there was just a more centralized place to where people could earn points for any game that they play and
Mm-hmm.
not just mine? Because the life cycle of games are very, very short. Well, there are some games that live longer than others, but typically, man, especially if it's like a mobile game, most mobile games you touch them for a week. If it's hot, they keep pushing updates. Maybe you might touch it for a month, a couple ones, but after that, it's done.
Mm-hmm.
Even console games to a large extent are like that. There's some that live for years and years and years, but a lot of them, their shelf life is pretty limited.
Right.
So that's why I thought that it would be a better idea just to have a centralized system to where you log your games, and then you log what games on the app. You log your games that you play. You earn points for that, and then you're able to redeem those for prizes. So I started building a prototype. I started talking to the community more, seeing like what they like about the product, what they don't like. And when I started talking with more and more gamers, I realized that people do like prizes, but the main thing that they were asking about my particular product, it was like, okay, well, what else can I do? Like, is there like a social aspect that exists here besides journaling games? What is there in it for me? And that's a fair question.
Mm-hmm.
And I was thinking of the market as such that there were already platforms to where gamers can be pretty social. They can discover games well. They can communicate with each other, but there isn't a centralized platform for such a thing. Everyone goes to different platforms for different reasons. Like you have Discord to where a lot of people will join and talk about games. But the thing about Discord is you have to know which group that you're joining in,
Right.
right? And you may not automatically have access to that link. Those are more so closed off communities. They're not general.
Mm-hmm.
Reddit is an open forum to where people can go, they can ask questions, but even some of those groups may be closed off. You have moderators that say, "Oh, you may not be able to post this unless you have a certain amount of karma."
Right.
And then you have, Twitter, some spaces to where people will just follow particular influencers on Twitter. YouTube, people may go to discover games. TikTok, the same thing. And as you hear me mentioning all these different platforms, you can see it's just there's not a centralized way to where I can just be a gamer, socialize, show who I am as a gamer, and be able to discover games all at the same time. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
so after realizing that, I said, this is what PixPerks, which is the platform that I'm building, should be. So I'm building PixPerks now, and I want it to be a social platform for gamers to where they can express their identity, they can discover games, really just truly embrace who they are as gamers, and just as a side bonus, be able to earn points for their interactions and redeem those for perks along the way.
Dang, okay. So the first like gamer social media sounds like it sounds very innovative. So right now is it just you or do you have a team you're working with? How's that looking like?
Yeah, I'm solo dolo right now.
Okay.
Yeah,
Nah, that's hey, I as a a founder of trying to create spaces on the internet, I understand the challenges that faces.
for
I've
sure.
been working on WeTheSauce for years now. It's going on
Years,
ten
I
years
remember
now.
that. Yeah.
So yeah,
Hmm.
it's the you fighting the good fight. So I guess during I guess the second iteration of your idea, because it sounds like you had an initial idea and then you made the pivot because you just saw an open market. What do you think has been the biggest in terms of how you approached your last venture to this one? What do you think the biggest difference in your approach is this time?
I think the biggest thing is that I'm getting feedback from the market early on.
Okay.
And I think that with PixPerks, at least, it's easier to get feedback earlier on than Placate, I think, than a video game. Like, because, I can release different features here for a video game, but I feel like for a mobile app with the functionality that PixPerks has, it's easier to just ask someone general questions like, hey, would you want your
Mm-hmm.
platform to do XYZ? It's different to ask someone, hey, would you want to have a video game you do this, this, and this, and this? And they're like, okay, well, I mean, that sounds good, but I want a visual of how that actually looks
Right.
like, because how you design a character isn't how I'm thinking of a character in mind. So there's the discovery, the customer discovery, and the feature discovery is a lot easier, I feel, in this than it would be in a video game. But I have emphasized that a lot more because the last thing that I think anyone wants to do is take months and months and months and months of just building a product, and then releasing it, and then everyone's like, okay, well, I mean, this is cool. You have no market. Like, there's no
Mm-hmm.
one that actually wants to use your product.
Mm. Nah, that
Yeah.
market feedback is extremely important. That's something I realized too. You creating something that is like, oh, and you have to love what you're making in order for, you to commit to it. But at the same
Mhm.
time, when you're just building something for yourself that what you might particularly like may not translate to the market. So
Yep.
that's very, very fascinating that you got that going on. So what stage is it like currently out for the public to use or is still in kind of beta testing? What stage are you saying it's at right now?
Yeah, so currently it's still in development. We're
Okay.
looking to launch hopefully in December of this year.
Okay.
We currently have a wait list for people that's available on the website. It's pixperks.com to
Okay.
where
I'll put
you'll
the
be
link at the
sent
bottom.
up. All right, cool, cool,
Hmm.
cool. To where you'll actually be able to get updates on progress that we're making. So the different features that I'm pushing out at this time, and it'll be a way for you to be able to communicate with me directly, get feedback, what you
Hmm.
think on these particular features, add it to a particular roadmap that we have for features. But essentially, we do want to launch in December.
Okay, December. That's right around the corner. This year has actually been flying by.
Man, what I'm telling you, man, I feel like the older that we get, the faster time really goes by. I'm telling you.
That's physics, man. I did realize that I think someone said this to me, or I might have just been watching a YouTube video. But yeah, every year is technically getting faster from our perception. Because when you're a baby, 1 year is all that you know. Now that we're in our 30s, it's like a whole year is just 1/30th of
1/30th.
our life now. So yeah,
Mhm.
time is definitely speeding up. I feel that. I'm like, man, I could see another year coming and going just like that. So
Just like that,
it
yeah, for
is
sure.
crazy. So, okay. Well, right now, so how has it been balancing your actual job and your personal business to how is that balance going for you?
I think it's been, excuse me, pretty good. It's because I focus. If it's not early in the morning, because I wake up pretty early. I wake up at 5,
Hmm.
and I work remotely too, so like I don't have
Okay.
to really log in until 9 o'clock.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
I have the early part of the morning to put in a couple of hours to what it is that I'm doing, and then I work 9 to 5, then have just a little bit of downtime for myself, and then another couple of hours in the evening to be able to work on it. So
Mm,
I do work all day,
right.
whether it's working on this or whether it's my job. But I don't know. I guess if you talk to someone, they may say like that's not very balanced. But I think because of I guess the passion I have to actually put this out there, it
Right.
doesn't feel too much like it's just so draining, because I can see the progress I'm making each week, and I'm just excited to get the product out there. So it feels balanced to me, but maybe to someone else, they'll be like, nah, what are you doing? Like, this is, this, where's it fun and all this type of stuff. Yeah, I have fun. I go out, do all this type of stuff.
Mhm.
But, just mostly I'm focusing on this, but it feels balanced to me.
I feel it. Have you ever had like experienced any type of burnout through your career yet, or do you think you've been able to pretty much manage it for the most part?
Definitely there are times where I felt burnt out.
Mm.
Just pulling in really long hours. And I'm not a guy that takes vacations
Mm.
typically. I'm on one now, but
Okay.
yeah, yeah, I took this
Look at
last week off, originally just for my birthday.
that. Mm.
Just took it
Happy
off.
birthday.
I appreciate that, man. Uh, you know, Took this whole week off, but really I've been working on PixPerks the entire week.
Mm.
That,
And
and
the
just
rewards.
trying some different, yeah, more work, but
Hmm.
it's fun for me. But
Hmm.
that trying some different restaurants, that type of stuff. You look on my IG story, man, I
Yeah,
got
yeah.
drinks on there every other
I
day.
seen that. I
Yeah,
seen
man, I've been turning up. No, but yeah, just you know, that I did that just for this. But typically in my career, man, I would not take vacations. I wouldn't take off
that. Mm.
as much. Like, I would just do all this, and eventually it got to the point where I'm just like, oh, ooh, to where it's just like, man, there's a lot. Let me take a sick day, or let me just do this every now and then.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, so there's, back then I would say like there's a lot less balance in it. I think now I kind of can gauge to where it's just okay. Now I can kind of see, okay, this is I have a breaking point,
Mm.
that to where I need to go ahead and make sure that I'm well maintained by this point, or I just stop, just to be able to recharge for a little bit.
Mm.
Yeah, now I'm so glad that I have that for sure.
So do you? Cause I was similar. I never really took any vacations. Did you feel like there was kind of a pressure, and just in being in tech in general, do you feel like there was a pressure to not take off, or do you think you
Mhm.
just felt? Because I think it was a little bit of a mixture for me of working like regular job, or not, I guess all of them are regular jobs, but just like jobs where I had to physically be somewhere, like doing physical labor. Like I would say, okay, you could take off from those jobs, but I didn't feel, I guess in my mind, I didn't feel comfortable taking off from a job that a lot of people would kind of be as like, oh, you're just sitting at home, or so, or when you're working remote, it's kind of difficult. So did you ever feel like a pressure or just like an uneasiness about um
Mhm.
taking off, or maybe just feel a little guilty about taking off? Do you think that contributed to not, or to not wanting to take vacations at all?
Not guilty. I don't think that I really felt guilty about it. I
Hmm.
think it was much more of two things. One, like you said correctly, was at least my position. It sounds like yours were too. We're remote, so unlike most people to where you have to physically show up for work, if I'm feeling kind of tired or burnt out, I take a nap for lunch,
Yeah, right.
right? Like,
Hmm.
I could do something like that, or just say, take a quick 30-minute break. As long as you don't have like meetings or particular deadlines or something, just take a 30-minute break for yourself if you really need it. That type of thing, things that you can't physically do in the office. So a lot of times I felt that there wasn't a need to
Take off though.
take off.
Hmm.
And then also, I mean, I'll just be frank, man, especially earlier on in my career, man, I was boring, man. I wasn't taking no trips. I wasn't doing anything
Right.
to where it just actually required me to take off.
Hmm.
Right. So it was me just being who I was, and then just also feeling like I just didn't need it, just because if I truly need to just take off, like, man, I could just find some time throughout the day, just to be like, okay, take a nap, do whatever, just to relax and recharge.
Hmm. Yeah, I think when I was working full time at companies, and I had unlimited PTO like before COVID it really hit. So I'm like, man, I did not take enough advantage of that. So as a contractor, a lot of times if you're not working that day, then you're not getting paid. So that definitely contributed to me not taking off as much or kind of, working through, I guess, a lot of times where I might have felt burnt out or something. And
Hmm.
so now that's something that I'm a lot more cognizant, I guess, as I'm getting older. Just trying to make sure that, when I do have off, I'm taking off and, closing my computer completely because I'll do the same thing when I'm off of work. I'll be doing the 5 projects that I wish I was doing while I was working or something. So
Right. Yeah.
I've had to tone that back a little bit.
Yeah, no, I definitely get that. Especially like you're saying, your position to where you get paid for like each day that you work, not
Hmm.
being salary necessarily, then yeah, you definitely don't. I can see, not wanting to take off. But man, I never I think with this position was the first one that I've had to where I get unlimited PTO.
Mm.
Uh and that it definitely was something where I'm just like, man, I've always just had like days where it's just like, okay, I can see, I can take care, I can take care. But man, it's nice. But also, do you feel like there's kind of like some psychological pressure in the back of your mind? Like, man, am I taking off too much PTO? Yeah,
For
like
sure.
because they might be start side eyeing you a little bit and just say, man, he's taking off a little too much time, week
Mm.
here, day here, this type of stuff. So yeah, I feel like there has to be a study out there to where they say if you offer a limited PTO, they probably take less PTO than people that have designated days because there's something in the back of your mind where like I don't want to look like I'm taking off too much time.
Yeah. Now, I remember seeing because this was at my first real corporate job, so I would see people just kind of taking off every or it'd be like, oh yeah, I'm out this I'm out of the office today. Like I think people used it a lot more like kind of week to week instead of taking full weeks off at a time. They might take a day or two this week, then the following week they might take a day off here. So it just felt
Hmm.
like their whole and I understand using it like that as a strategy. But I guess I never had felt comfortable enough at that position to be like, okay, I'm comfortable taking off. Like I would take vacations and stuff. So it's not like I didn't use it at all. But uh, I think if I were to have that today, I would use it a little bit more strategically. Of course,
Right.
do it on a Friday so you get 3 days back to back. Do it on a Monday and went Friday to extend your weekend or something like that. So yeah,
Mhm.
that's how I would imagine I would use it if I had unlimited PTO again. But
Right. Yeah. There's one guy that I know that works with my company now to where he takes when the before the year starts. Of course, we have all of our calendar days to where the company takes off.
mhm.
He takes off either the following Monday or the preceding Friday of the holiday that we get
Mhm.
off. At the beginning of the year, he puts in all the time just because we have the unlimited PTO. Just because he knows he's just like, man, I'm going to go ahead and get that extra 3 day or 4 day weekend.
Yeah.
Real strategic. I might do something like that when the new year rolls around.
Nah, if you can plan it out, I like those are just things that you learn the deeper you get into your career. Like it's stuff we
Hmm.
weren't thinking about coming out straight out of college and stuff. So
Right.
yeah, now that we've been in here for a couple of years and just understand the cycle of a full year or of a work year, different
Hmm.
quarters and the times when it's busy and the times when people are always like scrambling to take off. So if you get that in early, then that's a real power play. And I never actually thought of doing that in advance. I've always just held my pizza. I'm like, well, I might need it for something else, or you kind of
Right.
holding
Yeah.
on to it for worst case scenario. But that's a real interesting way to do that.
Hmm.
Okay, so let me think. Outside of computers, I know you said you had been going to a couple of restaurants, but what's some things that you've been doing for fun? Um, or if it's just been kind of still focused on your company, how what is some of your routines to kind of like decompress?
For sure. I think one thing I started appreciating more was taking walks.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. Now I feel like I start sounding like old man now, but I mean it's really
Nah, I walk
true.
every
Just
day.
because, yeah, like it's something that I haven't. I didn't used to take advantage of, man. And of course, when the pandemic started, like most people, I just went fully remote. And I've been fully remote since then. So I've been that way for 5 years. You really just take for granted the idea of getting in your car, like just to step outside your door, just to get some fresh air, just to walk to your car and then drive to the office. You get out of your car again, experience fresh air for a little bit. You go inside of an office, you see people face to face, you smile, laugh, y'all go to lunch together, leave, the whole 9 yards. There's so much interaction and so much movement that happens in between there. Now, it may be, it's just a small amount, I guess. Like, I don't know how many steps that you would get just on your day to day, just walking to your office or walking through your office. But compared to being sedentary, it's a lot, and so just being remote, I really just appreciated, especially this past year.
Mm.
Just, for lunch, either if I don't go to the gym, I'll go and I'll walk outside, or maybe I'll do that after work or maybe even before instead of, just working on PixPerks.
Mhm.
I'll do that. And man, it's done wonders for me to where it just absolutely clears my head. It puts me in the right mind set to either tackle the day, or if things were kind of challenging at work or I'm just still thinking about things, trying to solve something, it helps decompress me and gets me ready to be able to tackle the issue the next time I'm presented with it. Yeah, walking has absolutely been monumental. But you said that you do it yourself, right? So I know you already have seen the benefits.
Yes, I have a
Yeah.
dog, so I walk my dog in the morning. So I try and I wake up early too. I wake up like 5:30. So I
Hmm.
try and walk before the sun comes up. I mean, now it's about to get kind of cooler out, so it's not
Oh
as
yeah.
imperative to miss that. But yeah, I try to walk at least a mile a day, and if I don't get to walk, then I'll try and play some basketball in the back or something. So
Hmm.
activity, I gotta stay active. That's really why I wear my Apple Watch. So I'm just trying to make sure that I'm hitting my move goals daily, because it's something that
Right.
if you're not keeping track of it, you could just be sitting down all day and then just
All day.
not not even really think about it twice, and then you do that a couple of weeks back to back, and now you haven't moved. So yeah, I think that's been real important for me as well.
100%. Yeah.
So let's get into some tech talk. So I don't know if I think our last episode was before we had gone to the conference down in Florida. Did we go
Hmm.
to? I think it was before. So yeah, I know that conference is coming up. But what's some of your thoughts on the current state of tech right now? You have any, do you see the use of AI, or is there any tech that you have in mind that you use that's been real beneficial, or just
Hmm.
tech in general? So I mean, you could kind of start anywhere you want to, but we'll kind of just have a conversation about that.
Oh yeah, no, we'll definitely get to the conferences later for sure. But I think that the hot thing that everyone sees is AI.
Hmm.
It's machine learning and AI. I think. Give me 1 second. I'm sorry.
Okay,
I
not
just
cool,
need to
cool.
hit the door. Yeah. My fault, man.
Nah, you good, you
Just had
good.
it. Yeah, but the hot thing right now is AI. AI, machine learning. We see a lot of larger tech companies, Facebook, Google, pouring billions of dollars inside of their own models, right?
Hmm.
And I think as someone that I use it, like I'll use Copilot.
Hmm.
It's definitely helpful. But I see a lot of headlines that'll say, "Oh, developers are going to be a thing of the past. Don't need to be a software engineer. Don't even major in computer science. Don't do this type of stuff.
Hmm.
Yada yada yada." To me, I just think I don't agree with that take simply because if anyone has used AI currently
Hmm.
to actually code portions of an application, you know that it can't in its current state, and I think it will be a while before it gets to the point to where it can successfully code like an application.
Mm-hmm.
You know that it's super buggy.
Super.
There are times where the code that you actually utilize may not compile. You may not the AI agent may not fully grab the entire context of the application that you're building. So it may think it's solving a problem the way that you prompted it, which I mean in its mind is correct, but it's not taking into account the context of like, okay, well, yeah, you're helping me with this particular function that's in this file, but it's also called in this file and it's also called in this file. So it needs to actually work like this as well. I think, it needs to get better in as far as grabbing a lot of context, but you can't, from what I've seen, you can't successfully just have AI build an entire application for you and run well. And for people that say that you can, I would like to peek inside the code and actually just see, okay, this is like I know that this you're going to have an issue in this particular line. This is looks like a complete mess. Like this pattern doesn't match this one in this particular area of the code. Like it doesn't like there's no continuity there. That's you can just see that it could be something that's easy to break,
Mm-hmm.
um, and will need just a lot of maintenance in general. And so to that, like to the people that will say like don't major in computer science or software engineering, that's crazy talk because I am someone like I use AI just for, if I need like a function to do like a remedial task pretty quickly, just to write some little cases for it to run through, or it to format a file in a particular way, or just give me some dummy test data. I use AI for that pretty quickly, just because it's faster than what I could produce. And,
Right.
it'll help me pretty fast, right? Um, but I'm an engineer and I'm going to be using this and this is going to be a tool and I see myself doing this for a long time. Where they're like, we still need other engineers to come into the workforce. Like it's not just going to be just us. People
Mm-hmm.
are leaving the workforce as well. So now I would recommend people to get familiar with using AI tools because essentially it's a tool. Just like mathematicians use calculators, we still need mathematicians, right? Um, it's just a tool for us. So I would definitely encourage people to make sure that they're, to still apply. I mean, to still take the path of being a software engineer. The market may not be as hot as it was 5 years ago, but that was just absolutely insane to
Right.
where it's
Right.
just, right. Yeah. Like you, it will be a while before you get to something like that again, but it's
Yeah.
still a very lucrative field. There's so many different things that you can do, so I encourage people to not be afraid of the headlines, to go and tackle it because even if AI agents are good at actually writing code, you're going to need people that are able to architect your applications. And that's where we as engineers come in and say, this makes sense to have this file here, to have this system communicate with this system this way. And yeah, we can use AI agents to help code and plug in the particular pieces inside these systems, but you ultimately need someone to guide it and think about what it is that they're building.
Mm-hmm. I actually think
Yeah.
it makes it a little bit easier now to become a software engineer, if
Right.
especially someone coming right out of college, because there's so many things that you're not taught in school that now you kind of have a whole what we used to have to Google for hours and go on Stack Overflow to find, you can kind of get the answers for and like
Like that.
instantly with
Yeah.
explanations behind it. So I'm like,
All
man,
of it.
it's really one of the best times. Like Nigel said, it's not something to be afraid of. I think
Mhm.
I was falling a little bit for the propaganda at first. When I was first seeing AI come out, and I was never concerned for my position particularly, but I could see how it could replace junior developers in a company that's trying to downsize. If you have strong senior developers that you trust in, giving them AI is almost like giving them a a quick little uh, dedicated junior developer that they could use at all times to kind of do simple tasks that as a
Mhm.
developer you kind of don't want to do. So I could
Yeah.
see that, and I think that's been the biggest impact that people coming directly out of school have been running into, especially with the experience now that a lot of companies want you to have to apply for
Hmm.
some of these entry level and junior positions. Um, but yeah, well, you speaking about AI as a tool, actually, could you go into a little bit of how you mentioned Copilot? So, how do you use that into your workflow, or what's some of the benefits that you've seen from using that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I could say, um, if I know that uh, if there's like a remedial task that I know that I have to sit and think about, okay, how am I going to handle all these particular edge cases?
Mm,
It's going to take me a while to think about those. To me, if I use Copilot, I could say, hey, like I have some data that needs to be transformed or handled, but these are the particular edge cases that it needs to transform in this particular format. Um, like, and it could be something like that, or it could be something to where it's just like, if you're dealing with regex or anything to where it's like we all historically just hate to do.
hate.
Copilot is something, right? Like, you're laughing just because that's stuff that we've dealt with.
Mm,
If Copilot is something to where I would use it and just say, hey, like this is what I'm trying to do. Can we come up with some type of combinations, filters, or regex, just anything that we could do to handle these particular cases? And Copilot is handles that so much faster than I could. And now that I say that, just like I said, that Copilot or other AI models, they may even give you code that may not compile because it's not taking in the full context of files. I've had Copilot do that for me before. I've used ChatGPT to actually do some things for me for like my own personal work,
mm,
like personal projects, and it would give me things that didn't compile or it didn't cover all the particular test cases. So even then, with those AI agents, you still need a human to look over it and make sure that what it actually outputs is right. As a matter of fact, it has a disclaimer inside. I think it's either in the text box or after the end of the result that says, this model, what it says, like it could have errors in it. Like you need to
mm,
check it and see if that makes sense, right? But those are the particular use cases that I find it to be pretty useful. Unit testing, I
mm,
think, is very good as well. So you could just say, hey, like here are the particular scenarios. Here's an example of a, here's a here's a scenario that I want to cover. Here are examples of how our current unit tests are set up. Based off of this, could you give me a test that covers this particular scenario? And
mm.
then, have those written for you quickly. And you look over it, see if it makes sense, make any adjustments that you need. And that's so much easier than um, a lot of times it's easier, it's quicker than writing 4 or 5 additional tests. If the thinking of them, writing it yourself when the AI agent can take in the context of that particular unit test file and spit out those 4 tests for you.
Exactly. I think it saves so much brain power. That's
Yeah.
where I'm like AI is, I'm really sold on AI because the amount of brain power that it saves me and just day to day now, like I'm subscribed to the $20 version of Chat GPT because I was like,
Oh, I already do.
yeah,
Yeah. I already
it's and a lot of people don't understand. They like, why would I pay? But because it's free, and a lot of people only use it to the point where the free version, does benefit you. But I'm telling you, the paid version of Chat, and then I mean, I know they got the $200 version. I'm not that
didn't even
invested
know
yet. Yeah, they got a
that. Okay.
$200 version of it. I can't even imagine what capabilities that has, but the $20 version, when I tell you that I can use it for so many things, just not even tech related, just kind of organizing my thoughts and
100%.
things that as a human that would take me a lot of brain power to just like, okay, well, if I did want to do X, then just what are the steps to get involved? Before, you would have to Google that, go through 5 articles where it might have had a keyword, realize that it had nothing to do with what you were trying to do. So it just
Hmm.
takes all of the time out, and I think that's how I think a lot of our projects have been able to kind of grow at the rate that they've grown. Because I mean, from
Yeah.
where your company was at from then to now, I'm sure just like a lot of the brain power that could have possibly taken a couple of days of thinking to you got it kind of solved in just a couple of minutes or of prompting with AI. So
Right. Yeah, absolutely. You're 100% right. It really is a brain power saver. And I use it for everyday tasks too, just like organizing lists of maybe things I need to do. And to be honest, I use ChatGPT now more than I use Google,
Same.
because I'll use ChatGPT to query information for me, saying like, hey, like what the same way that I would use Google is typically just grabbing information on things. Now, I'm
Mhm.
not if I want to read like a news article or a sports article, then sure, like I'll use a browser. I'll use Google to go ahead and access that web article and read it for myself. But if I just need to know just some factual information just about something, ChatGPT to me is that's my go-to. So and that's typically what I use browsers for mostly, anyways, or what I use Google for.
Mhm.
So now I found that I'm really just using AI models way more than Google. And so for me, the $20 a month makes sense just because there's like a chat limit
Mhm.
for the particular chat for like ChatGPT. You can there's like files that you can upload to have it like scan things and spit out information.
Yeah.
Like there's a limit for the free version. So yeah, I'm big on using it for things just outside of tech.
Yeah. And now Google, when you do Google things, it has the Gemini for it, so you can't even
Hmm.
avoid using the AI at this point. So.
You can't. Yeah, it's so funny because I heard that Google was sitting on Gemini for the longest.
Mm.
Like there was like they actually had a functioning version earlier than OpenAI with ChatGPT. And it's just so funny because to me, even though you have AI summaries on like Google
Mhm.
after your search results, ChatGPT I feel like is just like the leading platform now for AI. At least that's just my sense. I haven't looked at the data on it, but
Yeah.
um, it's just funny just because Google, they could have had just another product that could have just taken over the lion's share of the market. Because Gemini, it's just I've used it times. It doesn't feel as human as ChatGPT, and ChatGPT
Mhm.
doesn't feel superhuman as it is, but
Right.
it's more humanistic than Gemini.
Mhm.
Uh, but still, like I feel it's funny because I just feel like Google could have had the lion's share of the market if they would have dropped that earlier. I wish I could have been in the boardrooms when they were talking about that. Like, nah, let's just sit on this.
I mean, I think there's so much like now there's a lot of different companies that like we have Claude, DeepSeek,
Hmm.
what's some other just I've heard a lot of good things about Claude, but now it's almost like streaming services to where it's like, oh, this one's the best for this one. So you would
Right.
want I've wanted to try Claude out a little bit more, but then it's just like, well, I'm already kind of committed to the $20 tier of ChatGPT. Now I'm
Right.
comfortable with how it works. It does a lot of things that I wanted to do, because even when you're I've used a lot of the design tools or like the instant website tools like Lovable and well, Lovable is the only one I've used. I've heard of Bolt.com, but I never actually used that. And then
Hmm.
Google had just made like a HTML template one called Google Stitch. But still, ChatGPT itself with the $20 plan can still do a lot of that stuff. Like you could give it a screenshot of something that you want to
Yeah.
build, and for just a simple website, not necessarily a whole application, but it can build you a working website. And I've used that a couple of times, and some freelance work and just some side projects and stuff, and it works extremely good. So I don't necessarily see the need to purchase another AI system. But
Hmm.
I mean, there are ones that say, they say Claude is a little bit better geared towards developing. So,
Development.
I would
Yeah.
love to give it a try, but
Mhm.
at the same time, I'm not trying to put hundreds of dollars of my personal money into AI. So, if I get the opportunity to work with it, that'd be great. But, right now, OpenAI is doing everything that I needed to do. So,
Yeah, exactly. Just like you said earlier, like with the kind of how they're modeling after streaming services with so many different ones that specialize in different type of content. We're already spending so much money on streaming services. I know I am personally. I just resubscribed to Hulu Live TV with like the ESPN package and all that type of
mm.
stuff. So I'm paying 90 some dollars a month just for that, bro. And I when I canceled the first time, I was like, bro, I'm never going to do this again. And here I am doing it again. And I got other platforms too, to or other streaming services to where it's just like bro, I can't be putting all this money in and all this stuff.
For the and it's like now, especially if you try, I don't too much watch football, but it's just like you can't even find a game if you wanted to watch it. So it's like
Yeah.
if you don't have the specific, you could even have the proper streaming service, but if you don't have the right package, now you can't watch a game or something. So
Mm-hmm.
it's really
Absolutely. And
crazy like that.
super bad. And the NBA is even worse than that. The NFL, I
Hmm.
think, is a little bit better because it's just fewer streaming services that you need for that. But like with even with League Pass, the games that we could watch on League Pass 10 years ago, we can't do them today. Like they're either additional packages that you have to add, or you can only watch them on certain channels. Like they're not even League Pass. The NBA is super bad about that.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yes, it's the way that things have just kind of, I mean, things are so decentralized now. I think that kind of came with the whole crypto wave.
Mm-hmm.
Everything wanted to be decentralized, and now I knew we would reach this point, especially with streaming services. Like once there was no more cable, I don't even think my parents have cable anymore. So I think they
Right.
just use like Hulu or something. But yeah, once we took away that piece where you always had a place where you could find the important stuff, and now if you don't have this app, then you can't access it. Now it's making entertainment just so difficult to achieve. Like the only premium I use YouTube Premium, and that's been a lifesaver because I'm always on YouTube. I don't
Really.
have any cable programs right now.
Right.
Right now,
Mm-hmm.
my two big ones is YouTube and Crunchyroll for anime. So
Right.
that's
Yeah.
really
Absolutely.
where I'm at with it. And then outside of that, I'm like I just don't watch TV, so I don't no Netflix for me. Sometimes Hulu works. Sometimes
Mm-hmm.
it's logged off on my TV, and then I just don't go through the process of putting it back in. So
But,
it's really these apps. The TikTok is, I see the dangers of TikTok now. So
oh
TikTok
yeah.
can so if I'm not watching TV, then I might be on TikTok, which I gotta get off of that addiction myself. But
Yeah, it's so crazy, man. Chris and I, we were talking about the different social medias, and he said
Mhm.
his um his pet peeve is doom scrolling to where people would just scroll constantly for hours. TikTok is the one app that I feel like it just epitomizes doom scrolling.
Oh, it
At one
is.
point, man, I used to like, I mean, I like IG's cool to me now, but
Hmm.
like, I used to be on it more like to where I can scroll through. Now I wasn't able to just scroll through for hours and whatnot.
Hmm.
I caught myself scrolling on TikTok for hours one time. And I said, man, I can't do this. It's Their algorithm is so good, and the app itself, the concept is just so entertaining. To
Yeah.
where it's just, yeah, man. It's just they mastered self-creating short form content.
Hmm.
To where it's just like everyone can engage in it. Being able to have sounds to where you can clip and people can like make sounds for their own videos. You turn people into, I don't know, mini comedians, and like you just see that everyone's just like so funny. I don't know, man. It's a
Hmm.
it's really an enjoyable app, but just like you said, man, it's dangerous. You can just find
So
yourself doing scrolling for hours.
it gives you so much, like, because the thing is, you never know what you're gonna get next. So it's like you could,
Yeah.
like on YouTube, now you almost have so many options or so many things to watch. You don't even know where to start. So on TikTok,
Yeah.
it's just starting you out. If you're not feeling that, then it's like, okay, no, I got, and then it figures out, oh, this is what you're trying to watch right now. And then you just
Mhm.
got you, and now you like, and then as soon as your brain gets tired of that, then it's like, oh, but what about this? And now you like,
Yeah, give
oh,
me
okay,
some.
that is an
I'm like,
interesting
okay,
thing.
I like it. I like
Oh my
it's
gosh, man.
it's so crazy, bro. Like because like the algorithm with them, their algorithm is so good to where you don't even have to like the video. If it senses that you're watching a video
Right.
longer than the other ones, it's going to start suggesting those types of
Hmm.
it. Man, come on.
Man, I let it know that I like some dog videos. Oh my gosh, it started flooding
Yeah,
my
that was
For You
it, man.
page with little little dogs and stuff. Uh, but that actually does so in game development, because this is something that because I was never really into game development. I was kind of trying to do more of a music type application, but just psychologically, I understand that there's certain things that you can do that would help keep people engaged. So how do you kind of balance the not moral, but just like what do you have you given any thought to about just like addictiveness of a platform, or just like because you know how when Facebook came out, people were like addicted to the likes and stuff, or just that
Hmm.
kind of that feedback system. So what are some of the things that you've put thought into, or kind of plan to think more about when it comes to your platform, and just how people interact with it? And because the thing is, a lot of people want, the goal is to keep people on your application for as long as possible, because for advertising purposes, use purposes. So, and that was
Right.
something that, as I was being a developer, I took like a UI UX course, and so that had made me think about it a little bit more. Like, one decision, like I think they were showing a case study for Google email. Like, are you going to tell people multiple times that they're getting the email, and then just thinking about like, okay, if they have 1,000 emails, then you're going to be messaging them or pinging them 3,000 times a day or something like that. So
Right.
have you had any thoughts? That's something that you got to consider in the future, or where are you at with that?
Yeah, I think a couple of different things. So one thing that I would say about social media, if I compared my platform to other social platforms, so if you say TikTok, or you can say Instagram, Twitter, it's a little bit different. My platform is different initially just because it's targeted to be more niche. The
Mm-hmm.
people that are going to be using PixPerks are gamers. They're not social media influencers. They're not people that want to have photos of themselves,
Mm-hmm.
posting, sharing that with with their friends, that type of thing. It's less general.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look at more so like a lot of gamer psychology, we're people to where we're a little more introverted. Like we share like our achievements in here. We're not like as boastful, like looking for likes, doing all this type of stuff. I think as other groups of people. So I think I haven't truly thought about much more of the addictive side
Mm-hmm.
of or addictive aspects of social platforms as much, just because I know the audience that I'm dealing with. But as far as keeping them engaged, I think that when you talk to gamers and you kind of see some of the issues that they're having, or the different platforms that they need to use to do different things, such as communicate with people about games, read game reviews, discover new games that they want to play. Um, I think bringing that all into one platform actually solves that problem. It keeps retention, because if I'm able to journal the games that I play, just say, this, I played, I'm a Dragon Ball Sparking Zero fan. Like, man, I just played Sparking Zero. Man, I was trashed. I just lost 5 matches in a row. Even upload a clip of my gameplay.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I do that. My friends are seeing it. We're laughing at the journal, that type of thing. But let's say I want to see what my other friends are playing from different platforms, like they play on Xbox or something like that. Then I'm able to use the Discover feature just to look at them and look at their activity and see the games that they're journaling, and also list of games that they plan to play, or that they completed, or any of that type of thing.
That's fire.
Having that discoverability piece wrapped around in the social layer, being able to interact with those elements of discoverability, I think helps keep users onto the platform, keeps them engaged and willing to just come back each and every day, or every time that they play. And even when they don't play, even if they just want to see general conversation happening about particular game titles.
Mm. Nah,
Yeah.
that's real. That's really a fire concept too altogether. So definitely can't wait for that to come out. But okay, so speaking of community, so let's get to talk about some of these conferences. We're both based in Atlanta, so we've seen our fair share of conferences in the state. We've also gone to some tech conferences in Florida before. Um, so yeah, what's kind of your temperature on conferences up today right now?
Well, I think that there are useful tech conferences out there.
Mm,
Um, there are there's different conferences, for different stacks. Like there's DevOps days to really talk about different, um, DevOps concepts, and those are happening all around the world essentially every month, like a couple of those every month. So tech conferences in general can be very helpful and very useful. I think you and I we've had conversations just about different tech conferences, like maybe ones that we may host. Like there may be some Black tech conferences that don't quite emphasize, I think, the tech in the way that an engineer, that either a senior engineer or someone that's mid level would find very useful, or even entry
Mm,
level. To be honest,
mm,
uh, those a lot of the topics that are there are more surface level. There are things that are more so geared towards how is it that you get into tech,
mm,
right? And those are very important conversations that need to be had. There are people that aren't in tech that need to know how is it that you can get in tech. But I think that we've had those conversations so much at this point to where there's just a plethora of information already existing
mm,
on it, to where I think that we're a little more mature enough to have higher level conversations with about tech, like just as far as like, okay, how am I scaling my services to be able to handle 100,000 monthly active users, things to where engineers can sit in and say, hey, like,
mm,
how is it that your actual system is structured, right? Like the advantages, even something that you can even Google, but just conversations about monolith versus microservices. Are monoliths bad? What
mm,
are the pluses here? When are you going to use them? When's it good? When's it bad? When are microservices good and when are they bad? Like, why do we even use them? Even software design patterns, and showing like case studies of just like particular systems, why this works versus why this doesn't. These are conversations that I would think would be more beneficial for engineers to have at a technical conference. But at the ones that I've been at, I think especially the ones that are catered more towards a Black audience, I don't think that there's enough of that content that exists there. I think it's
mm,
much more of, hey, here's how you get into tech, and even the people that are on the panels may not even be technical. We talked about this before too.
Ooh, let's talk about
It's and this is something that I think that our community can do a much better job on.
it.
We I think with another social platform like TikTok, like we say, people go for the likes, they do all this type of stuff. I think that tech for so long has been such a strong buzzword to where,
Yeah.
when you hear, oh, I'm in tech, like people's ears just perk up, like they're ready just to
Yeah.
listen to whatever it is that you say. But you hear people say that they're in tech, but when you look at their roles and what it is that they do, their roles aren't quite technical.
Mhm.
Now, these are roles that we absolutely need. So I'm not saying that, trying to shoot it down or anything like that. These are roles that you absolutely need on your team.
Mhm.
But whenever you see a lot of people that are influencers, when they'll say like, "Hey, I'm in tech," what are they? They're project managers, they're in sales, they may be in HR, and they happen to work at a tech company. But
Right.
these are all positions that exist outside of the tech world. I could be a software engineer and I could work at McDonald's,
Right.
but I would never say, "Yeah, I'm in food service." No, I would say, "Yeah, I'm a software engineer because that's what I do." My job in and of itself is technical. It doesn't matter what domain I'm in. Just
Mhm.
with the project manager, sales, HR, other positions that are more so on the business side, those are more so business positions and they can exist outside of different fields. So I feel it's a little more disingenuous just to say, even though I'm not saying that they mean it, it feels a bit more disingenuous for them to promote, oh, I'm in tech, like this how you get in tech, this type of thing. Sure, sure, sure. Like, and it's great. Like I think we need to have as many people that could be project managers, people that are in these technical position or technical companies, doing these very important positions. But I would absolutely love if there were more engineers that were talking and saying, hey, I'm in tech and I'm a technical person. Like I build these applications,
Mhm.
right? Like I actually sit down, I code, and I make these applications work. These are the type of people. I don't expect us to do it because I think that most people that are engineers are like we're more to ourselves and we're just we don't
That's
really worry too much about,
that's the
yeah,
big
like
thing. Mhm.
that's the big thing. Like I think that's really why you don't see it. But I will want more of us to do those types of things, and I think there are less of us in general as it is. I'm sure you've experienced this on your teams, but I've been on teams to where out of maybe like let's say like in my organization we got like 6, 7, 8 teams, and let's say like for my current one, my current position, I'm the only black engineer that I know. There's another one that I've heard his voice and I've seen his name to where I'm like, okay, he's black, but I've never seen his face on camera. But
Right.
he's that's only two out of like 80 engineers,
Mm-hmm.
to where
Mm-hmm.
it's just there's so few of us, and we'll definitely be in positions that are in sales, and we'll be in positions that are in HR, we'll be in positions that are in business side, like the project management side, project and program managers. Great, but like, man, there needs to be more of us engineers. Yeah, we need to be at these conferences. We need to have more technical conversations around these. Now, I think that a lot of people may find that boring. I think that like if you look at a lot of the tech conferences now, black tech conferences, they're where you have fun at
Turn
all
up.
conferences. You have fun at all conferences, but I think we definitely emphasize fun. Like it's just
Mm-hmm.
much more of like a turn up place, like you're doing this, like uh it's just much more of a I think that
Social,
if I
a
were to
lot
go to a lot of
social.
these, yeah, it's more social. Like I
Mm-hmm.
if I go to a lot of these other tech conferences, I think that the biggest thing that I would get is just how a good time, like social aspect. Like legit. I don't think that there are many of these technical conferences to where I'm actually learning technical concepts to where as an engineer in my stage of my career, I'm like, man, I really actually learned something today. I
Mm-hmm.
don't there are a lot of our tech conferences that I don't think that do that. And I think we can do a better job there.
No, I 100% agree because I think the conferences that we've gone to, I just won't say them by name just out of respect, but a lot of times, since we're so few and far between in the actual technical space, there's not enough of us to kind of advocate for more people to be in there.
I agree.
So it's I think that's a main part because I think that all of the conferences have good intentions in general.
Yeah.
So it's not a knock to the people hosting them, and I think it is great to bring awareness to the field in its totality because there's a lot of positions that black people just have no clue about. So, and if that gets
Mhm.
piques their interest in any way, I think that that's amazing. But
Yeah.
as someone who is more technical, we do need more technical events that may be geared more towards just black people, to kind of help usher in the next wave of black developers or black
Right.
DevOps engineers. Because when you don't see, and that was one of the biggest things when I first started my career, I had no mentors at all. I was looking for mentors, but I had no clue where to look, no clue where to find them, and never really truly found them. Everyone who I know in tech is my age, and they were going through the same struggles I was at the time.
Mhm.
So it's very like you said, you're one of the only black people on your team or in your company as a whole, and that was the same thing I was dealing with.
Right.
At my previous company, that it was an older company, so they had a couple of more black people in different positions. But when you get to technical in the development team, now I'm the only black person again. So
Absolutely.
um,
Yeah.
it's a lot of that. Some of the bigger tech conferences in Atlanta or in some of the conferences that are held in Texas and stuff now, they've gotten a reputation because now people associate tech careers with money, and so now you
Yeah.
have people people coming. I wouldn't say for the because money is a good reason to come. I'm not gonna say, but you know,
100%. Yeah.
well, you have people who are specifically looking for the money and who are looking for the perks that come with people who have money. So and but that's where people come and say they're networking, but it's like networking to just kind of find people who are in some cases dating, so it's always like a little hunt
100%.
for that.
Keeping it being.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
it's been real interesting to see that space play out. and especially because the main advertisement for it is social media. So influencers who, you know, kind of talk about it in a way to where like, oh yeah, you can make six figures, you could do this. So, you know, it's really appealing and attractive to people who have no clue what it is. But I think for people who are
Mhm.
already in it, it's kind of hard to get a community that's going to help you to elevate you to that next level. Because yeah, if we're not having the conversations about what's the best microservice here, then it's like, if we're not doing it at the conference, then where are we going to be able to do that at? So
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we have to have those spaces for ourselves. I think that engineers were just too secluded as it is, and or too introverted as it is. But yeah, I think essentially there needs to be a voice in the wilderness crying out for this type of stuff because I say that and I'm laughing a bit, but um, I'm serious just because I think that like I'll say this again, just in case like this just goes viral. I just want people to get this clip. Is just that all the positions that we named are absolutely mandatory and positions. You need someone to be able to sell your product, sales. You need people to be able to manage the project and give updates to your stakeholders. So that's project management, HR, people to people in those types of positions. All absolutely mandatory. But the reason why I advocate so much for engineering is because of this. With software, you're able to literally bring any type of business idea that you have to life. And more often than not, you're able to do it with little to no upfront costs. For other businesses, if you wanted to be if you wanted to open up a restaurant, at one point I wanted to. There were things I had to take. I would have been able to take out a loan to be able to buy like a storefront, or maybe I want to turn into a food truck. I have to have so much cash up front to be able to do that. Then I have to buy the actual product to buy the food, the seasonings, and then after I get the place that I'm using, like let's say that it is an actual brick and mortar place, I'm paying the electric bill. I had to pay a staff to help me, right? There are so many upfront costs to operating or building that business, but with software there isn't. PixPerks. Eventually, I'm hiring a UI UX designer to help me with the design pages, but outside of everything else, it's self funded. I'm able to do it myself, and I think that that's just very valuable, especially in our community. You don't have to put up so much money up front, just be able to build a product or at least build a prototype of a product, build some type of idea to be able to present to other people to fund your product. Like that type of stuff is very important. And you're not necessarily able to do that in those positions. If you were a project manager, you would have to go. And if you had some type of business idea that required software idea, you would have to go and convince another developer that this is a good job or a good idea, right? And then they would want to be paid for what it is that they do, right? So you have to have some type of money to be able to pay this guy to build a prototype or something like that more often than not. And it's just to me, it's less work, but it's advantageous, man. I think that we need to be able to know how to build particular products or build software products at a professional capacity. Um, and less of the project management side, less of the sales side. Let's build this stuff ourselves. Like let's learn and how to do this. So yeah, I'll always advocate for engineers. We definitely need more of us, and like we said before, man, we need these spaces to where we're able to congregate. And it's so funny because I'm thinking of the tech conference that we went to, and whenever we were seeing other engineers, we were all saying the same thing. It's just like, man, just like these tech conferences, they're here. I'm not getting anything out of these tech conferences. It's really just I'm in a place with warm weather, and it's just it feels with the food is good, this type of stuff. But I'm not learning anything. Maybe I may make a couple of connects with some people that I met there, but there are no technical topics to where there aren't many to where we're actually digging in, we're learning things. So yeah, man, we got to have that for us.
100%. Okay, so last thing, what would be your advice for young people trying to get into tech, or who are interested in tech? What path would you recommend them taking, or just any tips that you have for them?
Sure. I think that the biggest thing is I always promote college. I don't know necessarily what age group that we're talking about, but I always promote college for learning software engineering if you can.
Hmm.
Like if you're at that age, or if you have the ability to go to school to do it, definitely do it. Even if you have to go to community college for a little bit and then transfer to a larger university, for two reasons. I say one, because of a lot of companies, even though you can be self-taught and build a lot of projects and everything for yourself, which is important, you absolutely need to do that, especially in today's market. Um, you When you graduate from a program, you have like an actual certified institution that gives you a piece of paper that says you've successfully completed our training for this program, and other employers, they'll look at that, especially earlier on in your career, and they'll say like, okay, this may weigh a little bit more. Like you'll get your foot into the door easier, like an interview. Like it will make it easier for you to get an interview versus someone that doesn't have that certified piece of paper that says you went through this particular curriculum. So you'll at least be able to get interviews faster with that. I also recommend building out a bunch of different portfolios, especially with AI being hot now, building some integrations with some AI bots, something that's cool that you find useful, that too. But the other reason why I say that college is beneficial is because of networking. You're going to be able to have classes with a bunch of people that are trying to do similar things to you. And with that, you're able to get positions. So oftentimes when we apply to positions, yeah, well, we can get interviews, but you have a much better chance of getting an interview if you know a person that's able to refer you for a particular position. My very first job out of college, graduated in May, got a job in July. I got that off of a referral from a friend, someone that I met in college. Right? They had worked at this company as a software developer, and I just hit him up saying like, hey, I'm looking for a job. I'm getting ready to graduate. He referred me, got an interview. That's how I got my first gig. And that happens for a lot of people. It's not just in tech. That's just
Me
generally
too.
just how. Yeah, yeah, exactly. You know what I'm saying? Like that's just generally just how people get their positions. And so your network is more likely to grow in college just because you're in close quarters with, depending on where you go, thousands and thousands of people. Right. And then you have the opportunity while you're in college to do internships. That's another way to grow your network and to also make your resume look that much better. Right. So yeah, my biggest advice would be, make sure if you can go to school for it, just for the advantages that I listed. And if you're not able to, make sure that you build projects that interest you or things that may seem challenging. Don't run from the challenge. Just build it. Just see how it goes. Add it to your GitHub portfolio so you're able to show employers, hey, this is what you do, or this is what you've done with no official formal education in this subject. Yeah.
Nah, yeah, you smoked that. But actually, because that was a great explanation of the benefits of college. But
Yeah.
just one more, if what about for some people who wanted to transfer or like transition into tech, or like maybe if they wanted to transition into DevOps or into being a developer, what would be some of your advice for them, or would you say pretty much the same steps?
Are they already technical in their role, or are they not?
Let's say someone who's been in the workforce for a couple of
Hmm.
years and now they're just looking to just kind of try a new career, start out. So they might have been working in HR. um,
Hmm.
they might have been doing like working at like a car dealership or something, and that now they just want to kind of start fresh into no real experience, but are interested in this career now.
Hmm. Yeah, I would say if I were to do it, the thing that I would want to do is, let's say most companies have some type of IT department to
Mm-hmm.
where there are some engineers that are staff there whatsoever. So I would, if there's anything if there's any way that's possible, while outside trying to upskill my own dev skills, like starting from zero, I would see if there's any type of project that we could collaborate with the IT department in my particular department. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So if there's a software or simple, it doesn't have to be like a full scale application, but some type of tool that automates some things to where it makes our job, maybe like if I'm in HR, maybe it makes my job faster. Like it could be a simple script that we can run on our servers that does something that really benefits us. I don't know, but trying to find some type of project that uh, combines our departments, and then be pretty heavily involved in that, and then successfully launch that. While you're upskilling yourself, you get more. See if you can try to get hands on, whether it's inside the code. I know that may be difficult just because it's IT department and here it is there, but if you can get, be able to explain the technical topics of the code and that type of thing, and then you keep landing projects or finding little things here and there to be able to do, you turn into more of like a manager. And while you're growing like your technical skills, maybe you can kind of make it sound like you're a technical manager. And so that way you transition into more like a project manager role. If you wanted to do something that's technical, I would still give you the same advice like actual coding. I would say build your portfolio up. And let's say in this case, like, I mean, this would be like an actual godsend for you to even get this, but let's say you successfully launch a couple of projects, like how I mentioned, with
Mm-hmm.
combining the HR department and IT. You could even ask, saying like, "Hey, like since these are little scripts, like this is stuff that I've written before. Here's my GitHub." The IT department can verify and say like, "Hey, I've done this. I'd like to actually try my hand at developing this." And then I'm collaborating with the IT department, so it's not just me myself. So we'll have some supervision on this, and then transition that way. So if there's any way that you could try to link your departments together to help build projects, and then you slowly just get some wiggle room in there to where you're able to show your technical chops that they're growing, that would be the way I go about it.
Okay. Nah, great
Yeah.
advice. Great advice. Yeah. Real quick for me, I would say make sure anything that, if especially when you're doing resume creation, it's just very good to be able to frame things in a technical aspect. So I think that's been the biggest thing, while I was going through my job search, just really being able to communicate what I've done in previous jobs, even though it was technical, being able to translate that, specifically to whatever job description. And job descriptions will let you know what you need to necessarily, study or be proficient in for a
Right.
position. So
Hmm.
yeah, man. Man, I think yeah, it's getting a little. We got it like 8 o'clock now, so yeah, we almost at about about an hour and a half. We was just kind of talking, lost track of
Yeah.
time. But thank you, man, for so much for joining the platform, giving your expertise. Any last things you want to say before we get out of here?
Yeah, man. Like I mentioned PixPerks before. We're hoping to launch this December. Andre mentioned how he'll put the link to our website inside the description of the
Down
video, and
below.
it's just pixperks.com. Yeah, man. I'm excited about this launching. If you guys have any feedback or want any particular features in this, even if you think it's stupid, let me know. I'm always looking just to build a great product, and yeah, just would love to hear your thoughts.
For sure. And all, like he said, all feedback, that's one thing in tech, all feedback is very valuable. Whether good,
Absolutely.
bad, we deal with errors all day. We want to see errors in order to know what the next step is. So, that kind of
Yep.
same with this video. If you like it or if you don't like it, let us know why. That gives us
For sure.
more information to work on. So, thank everybody for watching. Thank you, Nigel, for joining once again. Um, Please, like, comment, subscribe, join the conversation. You want to put I can include all your social medias that you want in the description
Got
as
it.
well. Follow him, follow PixPerks on all the social media platforms. Like I said, I'll put it down in the below. And we will catch you guys next time. Thank you so much for joining us.